Good afternoon. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be talking about integration of the self, integration with self. And today I'm going to want to specifically talk about motivation. and in talking about motivation, man, getting ready to start this video, it's like there was a 10-foot wall between me and every step of the way. Uh, as so much as getting my painting out, setting up the easel, setting up the camera. It seemed like every activity was impeded only by my personal resistance to motivation of doing it. Nothing was in my way. There wasn't a cat jumping up on stuff or an avalanche falling on me, keeping me from doing it. No, it was just myself trying to demotivate myself in various fashions. uh, One of the greatest enemies of motivation is self-doubt. It's really difficult to even talk about motivation without talking about self-doubt. That's really what we're talking about, is overcoming self-doubt. Because there's motivation to go out fishing when you're hungry, or to go fishing when it's fun. There's motivation to do things where it's like something within drives you. You're hungry, so you go pick food to eat. There's this internal drive motivation, and that's an easy motivation. The one that's really worth figuring out how to overcome, how to control, how to understand, at least how to understand it. That's in the least. You at least want to understand your motivations. You might not be able to get to the point where you can realize a situation like, okay, in this situation, I can allow myself to be motivated by this factor. In this situation, I'm going to have to motivate myself. For instance, starting this live feed today, I had to motivate myself to do it. No one was going to make it happen for me. And in that, no one was going to stop me other than me. And I chose to drive on, to move forward with that. And it's just every minute until I really started it, there was this impotence, this resistance impeding me from performance, from achieving my goal of creating this live stream today and doing some work on my painting. And when I didn't know that that's what I wanted to do today, when I was trying to decide what I wanted to do today, that same resistance, then that same little stream of energy, that like feeling of resistance, but before it was resistance, it actually started out as almost a motivator. Oh, we can do this and we can do that and we can do this and we can do that and we can do this and we can do that. That's what it was saying, quote unquote, saying to me, was like options. Oh, there's all these things you can do. And then finally I realized, I was like, no, I'm going to have time to get to this today. I've been meaning to cover this subject. I've been shown a lot of signs, and I've had people request me to talk about this subject several times. So it's time. I saw the signs. It's time to do this now, to talk about this now. But was there ever self-doubt? Oh, yes, there was so much self-doubt coming into this video today that it was like measurable. I almost feel like I could have dumped it in a cup. How did I do it? Right? How did I get started? How did I go? That's the question. That's the doubt we want to overcome. That's the thing we need motivation for. No one needs to be motivated to go to sleep. Oh, yeah, you need to be motivated to go to sleep. You're tired, go to sleep. You need to be motivated to eat. You're hungry, you eat. These are easy problems. The one we really want to talk about, figure out, get a handle on, is the self-doubt factor. uh, And there's a multitude of ways to overcome self-doubt. A lot of times it's going to depend on the situation of which technique you use to overcome the self-doubt. Uh, One little technique that I've learned, that I've been taught, courtesy of the United States military, was this self-motivating factor that anybody that's been in the Army is going to know exactly what I'm saying as soon as I say it. Suck it up and drive on. There's this like chunk of pride that can move you. This, I said I was going to do it, and I don't want to look like a chump, so I'm going to do it. There's a sense of pride that's good to hold on to because it can be used for motivation. You really want to figure out how to motivate yourself, then you find all the tools in the pouch. Well, this is one of the tools. Sticking to your word because you said it, because you want to look at yourself like you're somebody that's trustworthy and that their word matters. So you live up to that. You follow through with it. You drive on. You suck up the hard parts of it and you drive on. There's that motivation factor. And there's also another little technique to motivate oneself with. And this is almost like it's like an engine that you have to start up, like you first you start thinking about all the people that have overcome issues. You think of situations where it's been like one man against the whole world and that man won, and that woman, everybody doubted that woman could do anything, and she showed the entire world that not only did she do anything, she did the thing. So you think about those motivational people in your life or in your data stream that you've encountered that are motivational. You think about those things, and you think about them in a way, not in a way of, oh, they did this and I'm weak and I can't do that because I'm not like that. No, you don't want to use this technique if you're still victimizing yourself. If you're still playing the self-victim, you don't want to use some techniques. So you got to be comfortable with kind of beating yourself up a little bit to get through this self-motivating technique, But you see that somebody else, you get motivated by that, It's like essentially you get next to something that's really motivated and it motivates you. And you get that energy worked up, right? And you'll have there's emotional sensations that come up when you watch somebody do something. And you try to allow those to accumulate in your body. Don't make them. You're going to kind of kill it doing that. You just have to kind of let it stay in you and stay in your mind. Don't make it go away. Just let that excitement stay in you. And then direct it and focus it at your problem, whatever it is you need to be motivated over. That's a very it kind of takes some work to do that technique. That's the whole thing about motivation. You have to be past the idea of that this isn't going to be work. Step one in being motivated, be willing to work. Be willing to do something. And maybe you need to sit around and do nothing for a year before you get motivated enough to do something. Everybody has their threshold limits, their absolute threshold where they reach the limit. They can't take it anymore, and then they got to do it. But then that's kind of relying on that internal motivation again, that like drive and need to do something. There's this thing that plays true, that if you always listen to that type of motivation, to the motivation that's making you need to do it, eventually you're going to be in a position where you really have troubles getting your way out of it. It's very advantageous to be able to plan. And if you can plan and follow through with your plans, that's essentially success right there. That's like the formula to success, is to create a plan, follow through with the plan, and have the plan be achieved. That is success. So you have to be able to plan. In planning is motivation. You know, if you just look at a situation, you're just, oh, I can't do this, right? Okay, I just sit here on my pillow and meditate and think about what I'm going to talk to you about today. And the whole time I'm meditating and I'm like, okay, I can write all these things down, and here's some ideas and here's some ideas of what I'm going to talk about, how I'm going to do this. And here's, putting some ideas together in my head, la, 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 la. But that's not doing anything. That's just kind of making plans. But then you start, okay, well, in order to do this, I'm going to need my paintbrush. In order to do this, I'm going to need my marker set. In order to do this. So then you start getting these various items out and assemble them near your goal. You start attracting that energy into one location in a very physical way. Either you start writing and making plans, or you start assembling items in the area and you start taking the tools that you do have and you start putting them there. And you keep an open mind. You allow what you know to be. You got to have your expectations kind of out the door. You don't want to be expecting a bunch of stuff and demanding that it goes this way. It's more to be requesting. It's kind of, hey, if this wants to happen, this can happen, and I'm going to put this stuff here that's associated with it. That's attracting. Oh, what's this stuff here? It doesn't push it away. We want things to be alluring. So I'm trying to create, there's this area right here where it kind of particulates into the black and it fades away. You get up real close, it's a bunch of like little dots, little white dots. Well, I'm going and I'm kind of like putting real faint little lines, little horizontal lines. Because if you look, there's vertical lines, and then I'm going perpendicular to all those little vertical lines. But very kind of like letting the natural lows go lower and the natural highs go higher. Kind of playing to its shading. The natural shading that exists from all the other layers that are there. Motivating yourself is a lot like that. You get the pieces together, you assemble them, and you let it flow. If you want to push it, there's a lot of places you can get with pushing, but man, pushing kind of becomes this like rock that you're pushing uphill. And you're always pushing it. I firmly believe in row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily making life a dream. You're not just sitting there in the current, just letting it pull you down. You're rowing. Not hard, but gently. Not just letting your paddle dangle in the water. No, you're rowing. You're kind of woof, woof. You're rowing along. And it's going to be very merry. You're not going to get stuck in some backwater area off the channel. You're gonna maintain course. It's going to work well. And it's best to be motivated like that. To do incremental steps. Instead of just expect to carry all the groceries in one big whack, Because how hard is it to take a couple little steps in succession that you can make versus one big load that you think you can do? You're doing something that you can do versus you're doing something you think you might be able to do if you don't snag the bag on the door, or if a dog doesn't bite you, or if if there's too many ifs, that's very unmotivating. Just kind of in a natural way. You got to think about the mental landscape that you set up when you visualize the situation that you're going to encounter, that you're trying to motivate yourself for. Be careful in the initial setup of the environment that you're not setting it up in such a way that you're doomed. A lot of motivation has to do with this other side of like an optimistic outlook on things. The human brain naturally attunes to dangers and negativity so that you can correct them or protect yourself. It's a survival technique, but you don't have to be a victim to that. That's kind of a different topic other than motivation, but still connected, because if you're putting a bunch of horrible stuff in your head, like if you watch a bunch of movies where it's just a bunch of bad stuff happening to the characters, then the storyline that you have in your head is one of a bunch of bad stuff happening. That's unmotivating. If you're so used to the story of when the character goes outside their comfort zone, they get their finger chopped off, you're not going to want to get outside your comfort zone. You don't want to stay in your comfort zone because it's safe, and that's understandable. Don't look down on yourself or others for trying to be safe. If you've been hurt, you'll understand why you want to be safe. But it's not fun healing. It's a very long journey healing all the way. If we continually set up a negative environment for ourselves and then encounter it with fear, with a mediocre success rate, then your statistical evaluation of yourself, which happens on a very cognitive, subconscious level, your brain really does assess you and what you do and all that stuff. It assesses it, and the portion of your brain that assesses your reality, typically referred to the subconscious mind, is very pragmatic about things. It's very difficult to lie to. It's very difficult to make that thing believe something that's not true. So you got to make sure that you're in a state of honesty with yourself. That's always going to be advantageous, to be honest with yourself. You got to see reality. You're going to see it by being honest with yourself. The more you lie to yourself, the more your statistical evaluation of yourself is going to be negative. The more negative of an outlook you have on yourself, the more unmotivated you are going to be. So part of being motivated is having success. That can start on small levels. There's all sorts of intuitive games that one can play with themselves to raise their internal success rate. And it doesn't matter how other people are looking at you. This matters on how you truly see yourself. You want to start doing things, little things. Try to intuit little things where you can be correct consistently. Then you start having trust in yourself. You'll start having trust in your intuitions. And then you can tell when self-doubt is something to listen to, as in, oh, this is something warning me of failure, or this is something trying to keep me from succeeding. We're all aware of the proverbial angel and devil on our shoulder. I'm not going to go into what these components are in reference to my perspective. I'm just going to kind of use this as a metaphor, as an idea of understanding. You have this one part of you that's kind of always looking down, and this one part of you that's kind of, here, like the you part. And then there's this other like grace part, right? Doesn't seem like the angels talk that much. The grace part, we might not hear it. It tends to whisper. It doesn't want to shout. It doesn't need to shout. If it shouts, it's because of how powerful grace is. We'll call it grace. Because of how powerful that is, if it does more than a whisper, it might blow your eardrums. So you want to let it whisper at you. And here's another thing. When somebody's in big trouble, what do? You yell at them. But if it's not that big of a deal and you just kind of want to nudge them this way, you just kind of nudge them this way. And when you're compassionate towards somebody and you're understanding towards somebody, how do you talk to them? You talk like, get over there, go right now, bro. Or, hey, you got to do this. If you don't do this, you're not going to be cool, dude. Is that compassion? No. That's manipulation. So you always want to allow yourself to feel, is this coming to me from a state of compassion, or does this come to me from a state of fear? What is this information? What does it do? How do I feel it? And if you're trying to be motivated, you only want to listen to the compassionate side. You don't want to listen to the fearful side. If the fearful side's telling you to not jump off a cliff, that's an obvious thing. I mean, we shouldn't even need to talk about that. But you listen to the compassionate side. Compassionate side would say the same thing. Everything's going to say, don't jump off the cliff, When it's an obvious thing like that, it's obvious. You're all in. But when you're trying to motivate yourself to come here and do this painting and sound like an idiot and look like a dummy and make a bunch of stupid scratches on this canvas and try to get you guys interested in this hullabaloo I'm talking about, right? So how do you motivate yourself for that? I actually used, today I had to use 3 or 4 techniques. First, the uncompassionate side of me was really just trying to demotivate me. It was just telling me all sorts of doubt, no one's going to listen to this. If they do listen to it, they don't care. If they do care, they don't matter. It's just doing everything it could. It wasn't sufficed with anything other than having me in a doubt state. It wasn't being compassionate to my state. But it was shouting at me. And when something's shouting at you, it's hard to hear something whispering to you, right? So I had to first go through this quieting the mind. I had to first go through my quieting the mind meditation. We're not going to go through that right now. But there's a multitude of people that do these things. It's pretty much known to work. I highly recommend finding a quiet the mind meditation technique that works for you. Because when you quiet the mind, you hear the compassionate side. It's no longer whispered. It's just kind of a plain talk to you. Then it's like, hey, it's okay. Just get out the canvas and put it up and put up the light, and it'll just walk you through the steps of what you need to do. And all you do is you just listen to it and do what it tells you to do. Eventually you get so trusting of this compassionate side of yourself, you won't even question it at all. It'll tell you to do something dumb, like put a napkin in your left pocket, and you'll be like, why? And then your daughter will come up and need a napkin, and she'll reach in your left pocket. It's just weird things will happen. I guarantee it. You start listening to your compassionate side full-heartedly and full trusting, I guarantee you'll see something happen. Guarantee it. I don't even doubt it. Probably in 3 to 5 days, you'll have a really cool mystical experience if you can get to the point where you solely and only listen to the compassionate side of yourself. Without a doubt. You'll be hooked then. Be like, oh man, I'm always going to be compassionate. And mind you, it's challenging because there's a lot of things that we're going to encounter in life on just a natural basis that are uncompassionate and brutal in nature. And so there's which is why we have these techniques, why we've developed these techniques, these tools of the yogi, of the shaman, of the mystic, these tools to quiet our mind, center ourselves, to allow the waves on the ocean to calm, clear the skies. You get the idea. So I had to do that first. I had to quiet my mind first. And then once I quieted my mind, then I was able to hear the compassionate side. It gave me the instructions of what to do next. So I set everything up. I got everything set up, got my canvas set up, got all my stuff. And then the resistance, this uncompassionate resistance side kind of changed its game. I was like, oh, okay, well, you're still not going to be any good. It's still trying to you're not any good. What are you even? And then it just started attacking them. What am I going to talk about? It was like, it said, I was saying to myself, the uncompassionate side of me was trying to cast doubt to me by saying, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know enough about any subject to do anything. I was just, this, it will eat at you. And so how do we get past that one? The first hurdle is one layer of self-doubt, and then you break through that one. I quieted my mind, started setting that stuff up, and then I felt a little bit more, and this was more of a physical sense instead of really a mental sense. On mental, I was still having a lot of doubt on doing this live stream. I was like, okay, well, I feel a little bit more physically like I can stand here and perform these deeds. I got the camera set up. I got everything. I was like, okay, physically, I feel like I'm capable of doing this now. What am I going to talk about? And the more I listened to the questionary doubt side, it started shifting into an actual doubt. I was like, oh, well, I don't really have anything typed out to talk about today. And where is my journal? I started looking for my data, and I didn't have the data in my location to do my talk. So then that fed into my doubt. So what did I do? Then I acquired the materials. I got my notebook here, and I got my journal there, and I got all my stuff. I was like, I'm going to get all my data right here by me and see how I feel then. So now I have my painting and I have the cameras. I have all this physical stuff in this location prepared to perform this deed. Well, that's a little bit more motivating. Now on a spiritual, or excuse me, now on a mental and physical level, I I feel more motivated. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I took a bunch of little steps. I was like, I know I can put my painting here. I know I can put my markers there. I know I can put my journal there. I know I can set the camera right here. I know I can do these things, but I'm still doubting, can I push the begin stream button? What I mean, what if it happens? And then, okay, I was like, I have the materials to paint. I have the materials for my info. Like, I have it all located. I have a nice place to sit down if I want to sit down. Everything's great. Okay, physically and mentally, this location is prepared. I feel enough motivation on that low level that I feel comfortable entering the situation. I feel successful. But there is still this layer of that I had to break through. There still was this like a self doubt. And mind you, was very dim, almost like a ghost of a spirit of a thought. We'll call it the spiritual side of me. Was still doubting if I could complete this, if anybody would dial in. I got a million, there's a million other things, and then I started listening to that a little bit, that doubt side, and then there's a million, and then it starts screaming at you. As soon as you start listening to this uncompassionate side of you, it'll start to talk louder and louder because it wants to have control. And it starts getting control and it's excited. So it starts talking a little bit louder because you're focusing on it. The more you focus on something, the louder it'll seem. So I started and I was like, whoa, no. So then I retired to my meditative state and I let it all go. And I just told myself, okay, I'm not even going to do a video. I was like, I have all the materials there. I have all the information here. I have a comfortable location. On my like low levels of motivation, it's a go. But there is still that, oh, what do I do next? What do I do next? And so here we go. We get to another technique that I used. And I used a combination of like the suck it up and drive on and the live to aspire. I was like, well, even if it's only one or two people that show up and care to listen, I'm still going to do it because I want to be me. Because I want to look at myself like I'm something that did something. And then you hold on to it. You don't let go. As soon as you start thinking, okay, I want to do this, you start thinking compassionate stuff towards yourself. And any kind of uncompassionate thing starts creeping in, you don't like try to stop it from coming in. You let it say its piece. You let it say its thing. You don't yell at the yeller to stop yelling. That just makes more screaming in the house. You don't hear anything then. You let it say its piece. And it will say a couple things. It'll try to doubt you. And then you just say, okay. And then you go right back and you just say the mantra again. There's actual like motivation mantras. I'm sure everybody's heard of the little choo-choo train. This one, I'm telling you, this stuff works. You tell yourself over and over again. And here's how it works. You get your algorithm in that state, your mental algorithm. You say, I will do it. I will be successful. I will be successful. I will be successful. And by that repetition, your brain, you have enough of that time that your brain spent hearing that, it can focus on that much more. So it helps drown out the uncompassionate side of you. And then you think about all like the heroes and all the villains and all the reasons to do something and to strive. All the people in the world that are suffering and begging for somebody to help them or something to happen. and try to connect to that energy field. You know, if you start thinking about some of these sufferings that people have been through, some of these trials and tribulations that our heroes have seen in our stories and in real life, you'll start to feel a real sense of like you want to cry or cheer or something, right? Well, if you can learn how to direct that energy towards your goal, it's very valuable. So here's how you kind of direct yourself into that. You go through the story that the hero wins, and you literally put yourself in the story. Your voice, your face, your parents are their parents, your dog is its dog, your horse is its horse, your cats are its cat. Hopefully you're He-Man and it's a battle cat. I want a big battle tiger cat. FYI, if anybody wants to buy me a huge battle tiger, I will accept that. But realistically, it's all, you know, it's just going to be something that you're kind of imagining. And yeah, imagine it. Imagination is a huge part of motivation. If you cannot imagine yourself being successful, you're not going to be successful. If you cannot see yourself crossing the finish line, how are you going to do it? You can be carried across and, yay, I won. Yay, look at me. Infants are carried, not champions, not heroes. Everybody loves an infant, but it's not the hero in the story. You know, no one is the infant. You know, as soon as you become Michael or Ivan or Elaine or Sue, as soon as you become that individual, you're not an infant anymore. Then you have to strive, and you have these things, you have to, motivations that you have to factor into yourself, that you have to forge into yourself. And forging motivation in yourself, you know, you can't expect that to be easy. Don't forget what you're doing. Motivation is the ability to strive outside of your comfort zone. Going outside of your comfort zone is not going to be comfortable. Otherwise, it'd be your comfort zone. So, forging motivation, you need to come at it like you're going to rip it apart and eat its face off. And you go at it, and you know, you can't expect to be successful every time and everything. You gotta be willing to fail, man. You gotta be willing to get bashed in the face and just fall down and get back up and go, because you know what the champions are made out of? The champions are made out of the ones that get up and go on. That's what makes a champion on a lot of different levels. You know, if you win a belt, like in the UFC, if you win a belt, I don't think you're called a champion. I may be wrong, but I think that you're called a champion after you've defended your title. I think then you're called a champion, like officially. I think there's some sort of official definition behind this of actually being a champion. You have to defend your title. And you have to, you know, even after you've achieved your motivation, even after you're at that point, you can't expect it like, oh, once I get to where I can motivate myself to get this painting put up and get this camera turned on, then the rest of the show is going to be easy. That I can just sit back and just watch the show and go on the ride. No. Motivation is willing to be the engine, willing to be the driving force behind the cart, the horse pulling the cart. And there's a certain hardness that you kind of have to come to. make sure you always return to the gentle, compassionate side. You always want to be tuned in to that compassionate side. If you start listening to the shouts too much, you will be misled. And you don't want your life to be full of shouts. There's a lot of beauty in peace. That's one of the things when I went through a pretty unmotivated period in my life. And then I went through another period where I kind of thought that I was motivated. And looking back at the motivation that I had, it was really just a very dry, like, pick it up and go on, like cut off your emotional feelings from everything and just do it like a machine. There's a lot to be said for the suck it up and drive on motivation. It's very, very difficult to stop. Uh, Another word for suck it up and drive on, it's several words, but it's chop wood, carry water. The final lesson of chop wood, carry water is suck it up and drive on. A lot of people think, oh, it's eventually you get to the point where chopping wood and carrying water is fun. Oh, but guess what? As soon as you get to that point where chopping wood and carrying water is fun, it's going to be so hard to put your shoes on or to go outside or to, get your pants on or pick up the log. You can't get rid of work. Chop wood, carry water, what that means is work in life. In order to have heat, in order to have water, in order to have food, in order to eat, there's a certain amount of effort that you have to go into yourself. So that's personified. The motivation factor behind that is personified in suck it up and drive on. You take all those doubts and all that uncompassionate thought towards yourself and you shut up with it. You just stop doing it. And how you stop doing something is you don't do nothing. You can't do nothing. You do something else. You can't not do. You do that. Instead of thinking about red, you start imagining oceans and blue dolphins and Neptune and the blue sky. And you just start like going through, you just start bombarding your brain with things that are blue if you don't want to think about red. You don't think about red things if you don't want to think about red. You think about blue things. And at one's there's definitely one level of mental development that will lead one to say, well, how do you do that? How do you just control your thoughts like that? And there's definitely, like, as with every muscle, as with every ability, there's a conditioning factor. There's a learning curve and a conditioning factor. It'll take you X amount of time to learn and perfect this behavior or task. And there's failure rates at every, there's all these different factors involved. So along, there's also like the listening to motivational music kind of thing. Listen to something that just gets you pumped up. And then, here's kind of what the suck it up and drive on is. It's like a combination of the engine one, where you think of a bunch of heroes doing heroic stuff. That you can even be like listening to music or, consume some sort of motivational media. Watch a motivational video, watch a motivational speech. where they tell you really got to get up and you really got to go. What? No! And that works. That works, dude. You can kind of like harmonize with that existence and be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great one, because it's kind of like this engine that you can start up, but it's as with any engine, there's fuel and you can get tired, and not one technique can be relied on. There's layers to motivation. There's layers to self-doubt. Getting through these individual layers of self-doubt take individual techniques. This self-doubt character, this ego, this devil on your shoulder, this there's so many different terms. It's all the same thing. This uncompassionate side of yourself was going to try to, make you an uncompassionate twerp. So it's going to lead you down the storyline that's the uncompassionate twerp. That's all it knows how to do, is be incompassionate, to think like that. And really, that side, there's value to it, as with everything. All hardware has been installed for a reason. There isn't some weird thing that's there. I guess maybe the appendix. They're saying that the appendix had some purposes long ago and did whatnot, and still does something or other. Who knows? We'll leave that to the MDs in the house. I haven't studied that portion of the body. But you want to choose a technique for the motivational thing that you're looking for that kind of matches the vibe of it and the feel of it. If you're trying to get motivated to go put a speech on for priests and nuns, it might not be a good idea to watch a bunch of like Eminem motivational, a bunch of videos with like Eminem and rap stars and stuff. You don't want to go into church, or you don't want to go into church being motivated by Eminem. I think that would clash. Something tells me that wouldn't be a good idea. That you might have a rhythm to your speech that would be, just that. You're going to have a rhythm to how you interpret stuff. You're going to be kind of in that Eminem, you want it, you want it, you won't. So you want to try to motivate yourself something. You want to you look in your toolbox, your motivational toolbox, and pick out something that's kind of in line with what you're preparing to do. In overcoming the motivational block to do this live stream today, I didn't take a shower. You know what I'm saying? I took a shower away this morning in my preparation to get motivated for the day. I didn't scrape the ice off my truck in preparation for this video. I didn't. I did get out the materials that I'm going to use and listen to. I think I listened to Carbon-Based Life Forms, Superseed. Really awesome song. Very motivational song for me. So I listened to that because it's it's not rap or something outside of my normal state. It's a motivational tone, matches the state that I wanted to have coming into this video. So I consumed that media. And all these different factors, they kind of worked. But I tell you what, I didn't really get into doing the video until I was doing the video. And every single one of these videos that I've done, and probably most people, uh, if you have, if you have a very selfless motivation, if your motivation is, I want the whole world to worship me, then, you're gonna have a different doubt set than I want. I want what I say to make a difference, to make things better for people. I want to help people. That's a different motivational set. And really, it comes down to the end. Okay, so I I remember this fight that I got into when I was in like grade school or something. I was really young, and this kid was like shoving me or something, or trying to take my bag, I don't remember exactly what was going on, but he was like doing something to me, and I was like, I do not want to look at myself like I'm a wussy. I do not want to be a wussy. And like I was like I had enough. I didn't want to be that. And then I did it, and then and then I fought back. I don't remember if I won. I can't remember if I won right now. All I remember is that there was this decision point where I was like, you know what? I don't care if I lose this fight. I don't care if he beats the hell out of me. I'm just going to make sure he doesn't knock any teeth out. I was like, I don't care. I don't want to look at myself like I cowered out of this. I didn't want to be a coward. I didn't want to look at myself like a coward. I didn't want to look at myself like a failure. And you got to remember, and you got to like see that in yourself. See that you're a winner, whether or not other people validate it. In that fight, I think actually, okay, it was a fight against like an eighth grader or something. I think the kid was way older and way bigger than me. And like, I think that like I threw some punches, and if I remember correctly, his friends kind of surrounded me. And then I think I got hit a bunch of times, and then I was getting choked. And I remember I was getting choked real bad. And then, yeah, I was getting beat up. I lost that fight. I lost that fight for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I lost that fight. I just totally remembered the whole thing. Yeah, I got beat up pretty bad actually. And but yeah, I remember I totally lost that fight. Um, but it was like I think it was at least 2 or 3 on 1, and they were definitely older than me. I think they were in eighth grade or something, or 2 or 3 years older than me. I don't remember. But I'd had enough, I was like, that's it. I'm fighting back. I'm not letting these people bully me around. I'm not letting these people bully these girls, because they were like bullying these girls around, like pushing them down and stuff. And one of them was my friend. I went to school with her, and I like had enough. I was like, that's it. We're doing this. And I think I got some good licks in on the kid. I don't remember. I just remember that I got beat up, and that I'd had enough. I was like, I didn't care. I don't care if I get beat up. I'm going to probably lose this fight, but I'm not losing it because I'm fighting back, because at that state, I'm not going to lose this fight because I'm standing up to tyranny. There's no way I can beat these kids. But the fact that I stood up to them. And you got to be willing to take blows. That's really, man, it's not, there's some really unfun stuff. And just the real cold truth about motivation. It's not going to be like, hey, I'm motivated now to do anything. No problem. No, nothing's in my way and everything's easy. Woo! If you go at it like that, you're going to fail again. And then you're going to be very unmotivated. You want to go at it like, I'm going to put forth my best and let's see what happens. And then do it. And then try your hardest. Focus on it and try your hardest. And if you follow the steps, you get your materials ready, you get your stuff ready, you keep yourself focused, you keep yourself understanding, you keep yourself compassionate, I can almost guarantee success in almost any venture. I mean, you can definitely come up with some what if situations. Those always exist. But if you're real and you follow these steps, you're probably going to be successful. You do the incremental things you can. You prepare your mind and like stuff. You get familiar with the energy format that you're going to encounter with whatever system it is that you're encountering. Familiarize, with that and get yourself prepared to handle whatever's going to be coming at you from those directions. And then you do it. And then you do it. Motivation and doing it's probably a little bit different. But there's always that, there's always that Nike motto that they sent us, the just do it model. That's almost the best motivational speech that there is. Just do it. If you fail, figure out what you did wrong and do it again. Except don't do the wrong things. Fix them. Be honest with yourself. What did I do incorrect? Listen to the compassionate side, and it will tell you, you did this incorrect, you did this incorrect. You need to do this better. You need to do that better. You did this right. You did this right. You failed at this because of these things that were kind of outside of your control. It will tell you where you went wrong. And it will also tell you kind of that it's okay. Because if you're listening to yourself and you're trying hardest, then you're going to be able to forgive yourself for failure. You're already going to be in that compassionate state of mind, so forgiveness comes kind of naturally, compassion. But being in that state facilitates it. When we think of motivation, we think of like high temp energy and ferocity and so how does compassion, which when we hear compassion, we think of soft, gentle, loving and kind, smooth and easy, which seems very contradictory to motivation. So when we encounter something we need to be motivated about, we might encounter it like, I gotta get on on this. So then you're not going to hear that compassionate side as easier. You want to have a quiet mind. That's one thing that is very valuable in everything you do, is if you can have a quiet mind. How do you get a quiet mind? That's a whole nother thing in itself. It takes a long time. And it also takes zero time at all. You can just let your mind be quiet. There's a billion techniques and yoga motivations and mantras and there's all that. And some of it's going to have effect and some of it's not. Some of it's worth something, some of it's not. And it's different per person. Some people like Hatha yoga, some people like Raja yoga, some people like American athletic sports. And really, search for motivation is a search for the union with self. It really is kind of all one thing. Once you're tapped into the fully integrated self, you have this like battery that you can tune into things. Like, oh, I'm going to help the postal service pick up food. This is kind of one of the things that I do. I go around and I help the postal service pick up food and donate food. And it's a real physical thing. Like there's a lot of food and there's miles to track, and it's really like actual physical thing involved. That's why I help my friend. My friend helps me, and then I help my friend do it. So it's like I'm doing a lot of things at once. And how do you get motivated for that? And sometimes it's real hard, cold, rainy. Postal service guys, and we should all really be appreciative and give them tips. Actually, give them like a tip on Christmas, even just like a $5 tip. If everybody gave them a $5 tip, it'd be so much different. Like those postal service people would just really be appreciative of it. They work so hard. It really is for real how hard they work. Those people are motivated every day to get out there right now. They're out there delivering stuff, walking through our neighborhoods, and they're motivated people. All those people in there, I saw it. They're all motivated people. They all had that ability to just shut up and drag on, just do it. Because even when I started this video, even I had everything together, started the video, I'm in here, I'm already a couple minutes in, and I'm still like kind of like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Maybe I don't know how am I going to fill this time. There's still like that little doubt. Of course, it was getting quieter and quieter and quieter because I was more tuned into the compassionate side of myself. But it's still just going, it's still in the background going, well, I don't know. And all pitiful sounding. It always gets pitiful at the end. The screamer starts out all loud and like threatening you. Like, oh, you're going to fail and you're going to feel stupid forever. And I'm going to own your whole happiness. And then like you kind of push through, you come up to his wall and like, oh boy, here's a big wall. They have a big sign, watch out for the 14-foot granite wall. And he looks at it, it might look like a real granite wall, but you go up and you just like tap on it and just falls over. It's just paper. You know what I'm saying? It's just a paper cutout of a wall. It's not even a real wall. So then you just push it down and just walk through, And so Mr. Doubt will just keep on putting up all these little paper mache walls. And as soon as you walk up to him and push through him, you just push right through him. You just boop right through. Boop, 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 right through him. And don't forget when you do it. There's a cool thing about motivation. It's kind of like being unmotivated. It can feed back. There's a feedback loop possible, kids. There's a feedback loop. Don't forget, each time you push through one of these guys' little, Mache granite walls, like, oh, look at the granite wall, and you push through it, it's just paper mache. It just pushes right over. Bloop. Don't forget you did that. Every time you dupe the doubter, remember it. Remember it. Remember that guy was telling you all this bull crap about yourself. And then as soon as you went up and even tested the wall a little bit, it just crumbles. Remember that time. Even if there's once. And you hold on to it and make it one of your little motivational things. Be like, da, da, da. You're thinking about the hero slamming the, bad guy to the ground and winning the day. And then put yourself right in there when you did it too. You know what I'm saying? You did it too. You pushed through that doubt guy. Maybe you didn't save the world with what you did. Okay. Hopefully not, because if you save the world, that means you're in a really bad situation. You want to be there. You want to be, happy and healthy and easy and peaceful. That's really where you want to be. Trust me. War and that stuff, it's horrible. It's scary. It's one of the worst things you could ever imagine. Seeing the suffering, it scars you for life. You don't want to see it. I don't even know why people watch this stuff on TV. It's horrific. Very unmotivating for me to see the death and destruction that war brings. That's one of the things that really, really hurt me in life, is being engaged in And what I saw, you want to surround yourself with motivating things and motivating people and motivating media. That's how you get motivated. You lead a motivated life. You stay in that state. You wake up in the morning and you get up and you put energy into yourself and you stretch your body and you go out and then you read some stuff that's going to make you smarter. And then you read some stuff that's going to make you more emotionally intelligent. And then you practice what you learn. And then you practice what you teach. And then you go out there and you find people and you engage and you do. And you stay on that cusp, man. And you can't expect something to be pushing you forward. That's not motivation. That's being on a conveyor belt. And we dig deep down inside of ourselves. And we look within ourselves. And what you find is that, we're consciousness. And the consciousness that, well, where we came from is the Big Bang. There's this kind of final layer to motivation. When you really tune into the self, you find this primordial energy source. Proving this is very difficult, but I believe that this primordial energy source that I've tapped into, that is tappable, that everyone can tap into when they dig and find their real true self. It's this primordial energy that will make you drive and go on, where nothing won't even stand in your way. And when the opponent does stand in your way, you drive right through it. I believe this primordial energy is the same primordial energy that wrought all into existence, that made the Big Bang start, and that primordial energy is your essence of being. That's why I feel that self-integration, that finding your true self, becoming the true self-integration, why it's one of the best, most valuable things you could ever do in your life. I really hope that everybody finds their motivation. It's kind of stupid. I feel stupid saying hope. Everybody has their motivation. And they're going to get it. You know what I'm saying? They're going to get it. The cool thing is that when you tap into this primordial energy, you don't have to be afraid of giving it away. It's like a fire that we have within each of us. And when that flame gets next to another and it burns brighter, it doesn't consume your food. It makes you burn brighter. May all that hear this, may their fire burn within them. May they feel the heat. May it revive their life. May you rise up against anything that will come against you. May love and compassion guide you.